Welcome, welcome, welcome. Man, we're back. Glad to see everybody. I'm glad to be back. Welcome to the Mortgage Mayhem podcast, where real estate meets real talk. I'm your humble host, G Money, and today we got a fully loaded show for you. We're going to be talking about everything from presidential approval ratings to fraud, finance, and fresh opportunities in real estate. And yes, we usually do a deep dive. We're going to do the deep dive tomorrow. My colleagues um, was not available today, so we'll bring them up on Monday. On tomorrow, and let them do a deep dive on a company. Actually, the company that we'll do a deep dive on tomorrow will actually be interviewing the CEO next Tuesday. We just locked that in not too long ago. So yeah, we're here, man. Excited, ready to go. But before we can get going, let's do a little bit of house cleaning. Make sure we're protected here. So let's go.
Welcome to the Mortgage Mayhem podcast, where the mortgage game meets real life, real talk, and a whole lot of chaos. We break down the deals, the drama, and the data behind the scenes of real estate finance, with a twist of street smarts, savvy, and a touch of madness. Before we dive in, here's the deal. The Mortgage Mayhem podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We are not attorneys, CPAs, or licensed financial advisors, and nothing you hear on this show should be taken as legal, financial, or investment advice. Always consult a licensed professional before making financial decisions.
All right. I like to get that out the way. Um, you know, just a little disclaimer at the top so we can make sure that we stay in compliance, so to speak. Um, Hold on, I got all kind of text messages coming my way. All right. Okay. All right, guys. So let's get into this. Like I said, we got a action pack. Should be a pretty quick show, actually. We got to get in and out. I got all kind of stuff. Mondays is crazy, man. So it's always tough on Mondays to kind of come in and just get on the same page. Usually takes a little minute. Usually by Tuesday, I'd be in full, rare form, so to speak. But we're going to jump this off today. Let's get into it, folks. The first thing that we're going to bring to the table and talk about today, and the thing about this show is, like I said, we cover current events. We get into the mayhem of current events, the mayhem of the real estate and mortgage industry. So it's just an overall, all around, show that's kind of hitting on the things that we think people may want to hear, and of course, giving you information to help you potentially to go out here and build generational wealth. So although we don't have a huge crowd, huge community right now, we're just going to keep doing this, keep doing it. I've been here before. It always starts with pretty much nothing. And then all of a sudden, if you stay consistent and you put forth good information to the people, then the people will come. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving. Let's make sure that we're providing good information. And then, we'll look up sometime here in the near future and we'll have a clear audience that, we can actually cater to, so to speak. So right now, we're just kind of putting it out there and, we're trying to, make sure that we give you guys the best show that we possibly can give you, based off of the experience, and my know-how. So let's get it moving. Let's talk about Trump and these falling polls. Uh, where's where's he at? Nope. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Did I not bring this one up, folks? Nope. So, Mr. Trump, even Fox anchors are admitting to the fact that he's failing at the polls. You know, at vote in or out at the 100-day mark of his second term, the president's Donald Trump approval rating stands at 44%, with a disapproval rating of 53%, according to a Fox News poll. This is a slight decline from the 45% approval he held at the same point during his first term in 2017. The dip is attributed to growing concerns over the economy, particularly following the administration's recent tariff announcements, which have led to market volatility and fears of a potential recession. Despite these challenges, Trump's approval ratings remain higher than the 36% of voters who said they would vote to reelect him after his first 100 days in 2017, as reported by a Fox News poll at the time. Comparatively, other recent presidents have had higher approval ratings at this respective 100-day milestone. George W. Bush held a 63% approval rating. Barack Obama stood at 62%, and Joe Biden held a 54% approval rating at the same juncture. Trump's current rating is the lowest among these, highlighting the unique challenges and public perceptions faced during his presidency. The administration's economic policies, particularly the implementation of tariffs, have been a focal point of public concerns, influencing these approval matrix. So basically, what's really going on here is, the chickens are starting to come home to roost. I know a lot of people, basically a lot of people voted for this particular president. And then I think a lot of people really just said, you know what, let's give this guy a try. He talks a good game. Let's see. He didn't really have a fair shot the last time because of COVID. So let's put him back in office and see if he could, make some magic. And coming in, initially it's a lot of throw everything up against the wall, hope it sticks. A lot of things that they started off with is starting to dwindle away, from the Doge, Elon Musk. Just had a press conference in the Oval Office, just stating that he's, I guess, getting ready to go back to his, full book of business that he saw in major decline because of, who he is, what he was bringing to the table, the policies that, the administration was putting forth. And now he's out the door. And now we have these tariff, problems that they're having where, it started off as we're going to just, make everybody pay. America's been getting jerked off for a number of years now. It's time for other countries to pay. And for the most part, it seems like it's putting us in a SHIT hole. And based off of that, I've been seeing some town hall meetings from, Republicans, and they are getting their clock cleaned by, their constituents. Just a mass, just mass craziness is going on at these town hall meetings. And then they got this big, beautiful bill, whatever that means. I mean, the terms that this guy gives, whatever it is that he does with is just diabolical. The big, beautiful bill. And everybody from, south to west, east to north, they're talking about how crazy this bill is. I promise you, tomorrow on this show, I'm going to pull up the bill and I'm just going to walk through it and just kind of see what's in the bill. Because a lot of times people hear about this stuff and they don't know what's really going on. They don't know what's in the bill, and it affects you. It affects, not just you, it affects your family, affects your neighbors. And we just kind of want to kind of peel that onion back. I know it might be a huge, massive bill, So I'll just kind of look at it over, this evening, just kind of get a feel for it. And then we'll just, kind of pull out some of the highlights that I think are, trash, so to speak. And then we'll pull out some of the good things as well. So we'll do that tomorrow. And as far as this guy, you can't just think, just because you a big personality that things are just gonna, fall in place for you, because that ain't how that works. You got to put the work in, and not only do you got to put the work in, you got to show people that you know what you're doing. You can't just be talking. And that's really what I hear, is a lot of talking. And the thing that I don't like and I don't understand, haven't been able to really, understand it, is the press. They'll press him about certain things. He'll say something that's absolutely crazy, and then that's the end of it. I don't understand how the press, they're the problem. They're one of the biggest problems of this craziness that's going on out here, in the world, because it's almost like nobody has kahunas when it comes to the press. It's like everybody's scared. Everybody gets one question. They don't get to do follow-up questions. You let him say whatever it is that he wants to say, not just him, but all political leaders, and nobody holds them accountable in the moment. That's the issue. They're doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, and the people that has access to them, they feel and act as if they don't know how to question these guys. It's like they'll throw a softball question, or it could be a hard question, and the president or whoever say something absolutely crazy, and that's the end of it. You know what I'm saying? I think the press needs to be held a little bit more accountable, because how do you actually get to the bottom of anything? You guys are the ones who have access to this man. The general public really doesn't. So I've always wondered, like, how does the press get away with this stuff? How do they keep letting these guys just run amok, have a couple questions? They could talk dead crazy to the press, and the press just allows it to happen. They move on, questions not answered. Whoever the individual is, president, whoever, has a clear soundbite that makes it goes their way, and we never get to the truth. This is a truth time in this world. We're coming up against a lot of truth. We're finding out about a lot of things that we kind of had a general idea was happening, but we're really finding out what's going on. And I think the press, I don't know if they need to be retrained, or is it something there that doesn't allow them to actually have confrontations with the administration based off of certain things that they're doing that they know is just insane, and they just allow it to go on. They just keep letting it happen. So I don't really understand it. I've always had that question in my mind, like, why does the press not get to the bottom of this ish? And they never do. It's just question, and basically from there, the president or whoever, whatever political leader, they just get to run shot, on the American public, and we never get to the bottom of anything. And we wonder why, we're in the situation that we're in. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's keep it moving. This was interesting. Where is it at? A number, the rising number of college grads that are unemployed is reaching a all-time high. According to reports, recent college graduates are struggling more than expected to find jobs, despite holding higher education degrees that typically offer an advantage in the job market. A new report from Oxford Economics reveals that unemployed recent grads are responsible for 12% of the 85% increase in the national unemployment rate since mid 2023, a significant share. considering they represent just 5% of the overall labor force. Okay, this is what I think is happening. AI. I just think AI is about to, just gut out the entry level white collar, worker, i.e., college graduates coming into the workforce. I just think a lot of, corporation CEOs, this is a capitalistic country, right? So really, most of these corporations are all about their bottom line, and they're about their bottom line being able to reach their bottom line by making sure that they trim the fat, so to speak. And now they have this shiny new tool called AI that they're all looking at that could potentially make them more efficient, could potentially cut down on massive salaries that they're used to paying out. They don't have to have people in the office anymore. So AI is allowing, corporations to kind of see what the new world is about to look like. And what the new world is about to look like is less people working, and robotics, AI are about to be the new workforce. That's what I'm seeing. And I just don't think I think they're smart enough to just tell themselves it's here, it's coming. And then you have these graduates getting out of college, they're, bright eye and bushy tail, thinking they're getting ready to go out into the marketplace and get their first job. Pretty sure some of them are, but a lot of them are running up against brick walls. And the reason they're running into brick walls is because these corporations are already preparing, for this major change that's getting ready to happen. They're already in the back running their beta models. They already understand exactly how implementing AI into their corporations is going to benefit them. And the main thing that they're looking at is, why should I hire, a 21, 22-year-old who don't really, fresh out of college, don't have no experience, when I can plug in and I have to hire 3 or 4 of those in order for the things that I need to get done. And I can just go over here now, bring in, a particular AI software, maybe pay whatever on the front end in order to be a part of the software. But it does everything that those 3, 4, 5, 6 employees I would have had to hire, pay them 7,500, whatever the going rate is for a college graduate. And they're looking at, okay, that's a couple 100,000 we can keep in pocket, and we don't have to worry about the AI person calling off, getting sick, having to leave on maternity leave, retiring. They don't have to worry about that with AI. And on top of it, they get a better product, unfortunately, because AI pretty much allows them to, be on the cutting edge of whatever it is that they're doing, because that's what AI does. It allows you to be efficient. It allows you, to be able to, get things done so quickly compared to an actual human being. So that's what is happening. I do believe it's not because, college graduates are not smart. It's none of that. It's AI is getting ready to gut the workforce in a significant way. It's going to be a lot of unemployment going on here in the next 5 years, maybe even quicker than that. But I've seen some, some articles. I've seen some videos of some of the top-notch individuals that's in that space, and they're basically ringing the alarm and letting everyone know that the times of yesteryears are pretty much gone, and you better adapt to what's getting ready to come down the pipe. So you college graduates or individuals that's in college, you might want to start looking at AI types of degrees. Or you're going to have to be an entrepreneurial in a way that you can use AI to your advantage, so you can be reaping the same benefits that these major corporations are experience because of AI. You got to get smart out here, guys. You college graduates, this is not the old way of business. It's just not. You could do AI for everything. It's like Google on steroids for the most part, right? You could just punch in whatever you want to know and it'll spit the answer out to you. And you don't think that CEOs don't know that? You don't think they are in the upper echelon of AI and what it can do for their bottom line? So they're just looking at it like, I'm not about to hire, 10, 11, 12 straight out of college, all kinds of, potential pitfalls that can come with that when I can just bring this software in and it'll handle everything I needed to handle. And I don't even have to worry about monitoring it, in such a big way. And I don't have to worry about paying it, giving it health care. I don't have to worry about giving it a 401k. So they're taking all those things into consideration, in my opinion. So, college graduates, it's time for you guys to wake up and smell the coffee. As my college coach my high school coach used to say to me, in practice, wake up and smell the coffee, Greg, because if you don't, you're going to be left behind. And it's just, I don't know if, what you're going to have to do is start late to get into that mix. But if you're not careful, you will be left behind, right? Okay, let's keep it moving. Good luck for all the college grads that's coming out. Hopefully, you understand the new ways of the world because you've been a part of it, and you adjust and act accordingly. Right? All right. So let's keep it moving. Let's bring this up. Google has agreed to pay $50 million to settle a lawsuit that caused the company of discriminating against Black employees, particular Black women. Um, so what's happening now is that Google has agreed to pay $50 million to settle a lawsuit that accused the company of discriminating against Black employees, particularly Black women. The settlement, which still needs final approval from a judge, covers more than 4,000 employees in California and New York. While Google denies the wrongdoing, the lawsuit followed a 2022 investigation by the California Civil Rights Department, which claimed the company created a biased work environment where Black employees were funneled into lower positions, paid less, and denied advancement opportunities. The case was led by April Curley, a former Google employee hired to connect with historically Black colleges, who alleged she faced discrimination, was labeled unfairly, and was fired while preparing a report on the company's racial practices. Other plaintiffs shared similar experiences of bias and exclusion, and this settlement comes shortly after Google resolved another case over racial pay gaps. As part of the agreement, Google has committed to ongoing pay analysis and to maintaining clear channels for employees to report workplace concerns. I'm so sick of this mess about, it's almost like people continuously play in brown people of color's faces. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you Google, major corporation, I'm pretty sure diverse in its own, way, manner, and you feel the need to just imagine if you just flip that instead of discriminating, instead of not advancing people who deserve it. You did the opposite, and you advance people who deserve it, people of color who deserve it. Nobody, once again, is asking for any handouts. We just want to be able to advance based off of our knowledge and wisdom base that we've obtained over the years, that we went to schools, that we've studied and become educated about. And then we get happy and feel good inside when these major corporations like a Google hire us. And then once we get inside of the corporation, just like anything else that we do, we work hard, 10 times as hard as the next person. And the slap in the face is stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? Being labeled unfairly. Um, denied advancement opportunities, paid less, funneled into lower positions. Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, why? You apparently these people are qualified. You hired them. Why would you hire people that you feel are not qualified? And then once you hire them and they show up and show out, you just kick them to the curb. You do nasty things to them to the point where you got to be sued for 50 million. That's 50 million. You can employ major individuals in your corporation and just treat them fairly. And that's money you could keep in your pocket. It's so crazy that these corporations would be willing to give up hundreds of millions just to be racist, you know, just to not give people of color a fair chance. I've never understood that. Like, you hire these people. You bring them on board because you see something in them where they're talented. That's why you say, yes, you're hired. You bring them on board. Like I said, they show up, they show out. And then next thing you know, they're getting paid less. They're getting funneled into lesser positions. They don't get, an opportunity to raise up through the ranks and then the flip side to all of that is while we're getting beat down over here and we have just as much talent, if not more, we have to look at the others climb up these ladders without any kind of reprieve, without any kind of backlash. And it's just not fair. I don't understand and never have. It's just you think at some point the country and the corporations are going to have to stop being racist. They're going to have to stop it because it's not going to, it's worked for so long. It's just been the go-to for so long. And then now they're rolling stuff back with the DEI, and the reason DEI was put in the forefront in the first place was because people felt like the opportunities or situations like this were occurring. So we had to do something in order to try to even the playing fields. And even with that being the case, they saw it and was like, no, 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 no. We're not trying to even up no playing fields here. As a matter of fact, the thing that was in place to help to even the playing field, let's just strip it. And if you're a corporation and then you're still using these practices that allowed you to have an environment that everybody was involved in, everybody was at the table, they said, no, no, no. Too many of the others are at the table. Let's take that away because number one, they're getting information that, from the beginning of time, we kept the information from them. So they couldn't grow. So let's get back to keeping the information from the people. The colored people, the people of color. Let's not give them the information because every time we give them the information, they just rise and they become successful. They work harder because they understand, what it is to work hard, because that's what they've had to do their entire life. You know what I'm saying? So to me, this is another example of, major corporations leaning pretty much on racism, in order to keep their companies, I guess, the color they want it to be. They don't want everybody at the table. So like I said, when you're at the table, you get the information. And typically what we do, we get the information, we go start our own, and we grow those companies into companies that allows, generations to have wealth. And I don't think they want that. I don't think they want, you know, generational wealth for people of color. They just want all the wealth to themselves, which is insane. We've done so much. It's just every time I see stuff like this, I just get frustrated because, I know how I am. I've been in these corporations working next to others who don't share the same skin color as I, and it's always been a situation where I felt like I had to outdo them. And I'm like, why do these guys are good people too. It's not even the people, it's the people that's at the top with the greed. That's where it's at. It ain't the actual people, because the actual people love working beside, people of color. It's the people that's at the top that's causing this kind of heartache, to the point where you got to go hire lawyers, you got to sue folks, it's just a mess, right? But anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Let's keep it moving. Let's talk about this. Uh, where's that at? All right. So, Job Corps, a long-standing federal program that's helped millions of young people gain job training, education, and career skills, has closed its doors nationwide. Job Corps program shut down nationwide after decades of service in a surprising and historic development. The Job Corps program, a federal initiative that has empowered millions of young Americans through job training, education, and career readiness, has officially ceased operations across the United States. Established in 1964 as part of President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty, Job Corps has long served as a vital resource for youth age 16 through 24, offering free vocational training, high school education, and residential support. The program provided a lifeline for disadvantaged youth seeking a path to self sufficiency and professional success. Over the decades, Job Corps centers across the country offered hands on training in industries such as healthcare, construction, information technology, and hospitality. The program was widely praised for its helping at risk youth find stable employment and reduce poverty related challenges in underserved communities. The decisions to close the program marks the end of an era and has sparked concern among education advocates worldwide, workforce development leaders, and former participants. Many worry about the long term impact on job readiness resources for vulnerable populations, particularly in rural and inner city areas where access to opportunities are already limited. While the reasons behind the nationwide shutdown have not been fully detailed, the closure signals a major shift in federal workforce development priorities. As the nation grapples with evolving labor market demands and technological disruptions, the absence of Job Corps leaves a significant gap in the country's educational and training safety net. Former students, alumni, and staff have taken to social media to share their experience and express gratitude for the program's lasting impact, even as they lament its closure. For many, Job Corps was more than a training program. It was a turning point in their lives. The legacy of Job Corps will be remembered for its decades of service in helping young Americans build better futures through hard work, education, and opportunity. See, what kind of issue is this? I mean, I can't wait to kind of hear what the real story is behind this. But Job Corps, once again, anything that's helping not just people of color, but people that's in rural areas, people who just may not have the same opportunities as others. They create a program for it back in 64. It's been going on since 1964. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, because it's been educating, it's been training people of color that's in inner cities, people, all types of people that's in rural areas. They just put a halt on. I don't know if you guys seen like some of the videos that was on social media where people was just, packing up. It was just all of a sudden, it was just like, boom, it's over. So you had irate parents running around trying to get their kids. You had, former Job Corps employees, just disgruntled because I'm pretty sure it just happened just all of a sudden out of the blue. And for what? This is like one of those programs. I don't know the intricate details, but I'm pretty sure it has so many success stories. And then all of a sudden, with everything else that's crazy that's going on in the world, not just in the world, but in the United States, here's another hit. Here's another hit to our future workforce. You're talking about construction. You're talking about healthcare. You're talking about what was information technology, hospitality, the industries that the folks who are making these things happen for whatever reason, their own selfish, crazy reasons, the things that they all enjoy, there's not going to be a workforce for it. Unless they're going to just bank on AI taking over construction sites, taking over, hospitality sites, just construction, healthcare. I mean, what else can it be? Why would you, just do some damage to a program that has helped so many people? I don't know if it's because they figure if we cut these programs out, people will be back on the street. That means we can fill up these jails and basically, pad the pockets of the higher ups, the oligarchs, so to speak, because this just doesn't make good business sense to me. It just doesn't. If you're looking to have a workforce and everybody can't go to college, everybody, don't have the resources that they need in order to even get a high school diploma. And these guys help you get a high school diploma. They give you a skill set that you can use for the rest of your life. And out of the blue, they come in and shut it down. It's crazy because, like, when I got out of school, um, the company that I worked for, it was called Care. They started off, as a part of Job Corps. It was a big part of the company. Then they went private and, just started doing their own thing. And I know a lady, a friend of mine who was big up in Job Corps. I don't know if anything happened to her job or whatever the case may be, but she was passionate about it. I'd seen like some of her postings on Facebook, expressing her feelings about this, and it just wasn't it wasn't good to see. So I don't really know exactly what's going on. We'll keep our eye on this, but I just know to this day it's a lot of children It's a lot of employees that work for Job Corps, and they're no longer have jobs, and they no longer have the opportunity to pick up a skill that they can use, for the rest of their life. So this is a sad situation at all. I mean, this just is worrisome. I don't understand it. I know everything's been getting cut, but why would you cut this? I mean, you didn't. All I've been hearing is nothing but good things. I'm not saying everything is perfect. I'm pretty sure, that they're not perfect, as a federal, entity, but they definitely have put forth more good than any small little, things that may have, occurred throughout, you know, multiple decades of helping people, right? So we'll keep our eye on that. We'll say a prayer, for those that's involved. But yeah, this is ridiculous for real. It just doesn't make good sense. It doesn't make good business sense, and socially, it doesn't make a whole lot of good sense either. So we'll keep our eye on it. Any updates, we'll bring it forth. Hopefully, we'll get to the bottom of it and get a better understanding of why, and then we can report on that. Okay, let's keep it moving. Raleigh, North Carolina pastor pleads guilty to 400,000 COVID PPP fraud. A pastor from Raleigh has admitted to committing fraud involving over 400,000 in COVID-19 relief funds. According to federal authorities, 45-year-old Mitchell Summerfield, who led the Word of God Fellowship Church on Rock Quarry Road and owned several businesses, including Winning Ways, KHS Investments, and Vision and Destiny, work with other Summerfield who led the Word of God Fellowship Church on. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Um, Investments and Visions and Destiny work with others to file fraudulent applications for government loans between July 20th and July 2021. He submitted false paperwork to obtain funds from paycheck protection programs and economic injury disaster loans. Investigators revealed that Summerfield used fake tax documents and fabricated income details to secure loans, which he then spent on personal expenses rather than legitimate business needs. This week, he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit bank and wire fraud. He now faces up to 30 years in prison, a $1 million fine, 5 years of supervised release, and must repay the stolen funds. The Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigation Unit led the investigation, with Special Assistant U.S. Attorney Lisa Labreche handling the prosecution. U.S. District Judge Terrence Bowe officially accepted Summerfield's guilty plea. You got the pastor doing this. I mean, that just lets you know how greed is a thing. It's not just the rich that are greedy. For the most part, Americans are greedy, no matter what your ilk. Pastors, clergymen, greed is greed. And right here, this was greed. Why would you be a pastor knowing that you're an extension of the man above, preaching to, your congregation on, what to do and doing the right things. And as you're doing that, you're in the background doing things like this, taking out PPP loans for your own personal, needs. Probably bought Bentleys, 400,000, probably bought real estate, all kind of clothes, just stupid stuff. I'm sure, to the point where you can end up in jail for 30 years. At that point, you ain't gonna have no what. I mean, I guess you can have a congregation inside the walls. You got to pay $1 million in fine, pay back all the money that you took and spent on whatever you spent it on, and you have, not to say that you can't be forgiven, and you know it better than most, I'm sure. But to embarrass your family, to embarrass your congregation, it's just, it's just sad to see at the end of the day. You know, so I ain't gonna spend a lot of time on this. I just wanted to touch on it because here, if we see something that I think needs some attention, because it could be a teachable moment, we're gonna talk about it. I think in this case, the teachable moment is stop doing ish that you're gonna eventually get caught. Stop doing things that is not morally right? Because I've never really seen folks who do that where the outcome doesn't be an outcome similar to this. So I don't know what pastor, what's his name, Summerfield, was thinking about, but I do know he's about to have time to think about what he was thinking about when he made these kind of decisions. So, we'll say a prayer for him, and his family, his congregation, because they didn't deserve this. Because he probably was a good man of faith. He probably was a good pastor, and now that all has to be taken away because now publicly he's probably being shunned in some type of way. No, he's being judged even though you're not supposed to judge. But when you got the man who tells you not to judge, doing things like this, it lets you know that nobody's perfect. Don't put people on pedestals unnecessarily, because you can end up getting your heart broken when things like this occur, right? All right, so we'll keep it moving. All right. So the USDA government employee and 5 of his friends was arrested for 63 million food stamp fraud. And yes, I said 63 million. Let's get into this because this is crazy. So USDA government employees and 5 of his friends were arrested in a $63 million food stamp scheme. A U.S. Department of Agriculture employee, 5 other individuals were arrested Friday morning for allegedly stealing tens of millions of dollars from the federal food stamp program. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Weiland, speaking on Morning with Maria, called the operations one of the largest stings to date. At USDA, we're focused on eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse. This is a new day, so she said. President Trump made it clear during his travels across the country that the government must change. Working alongside the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, federal authorities charged 6 people in connection with a bribery and fraud scheme that funneled over 66 million in unauthorized transactions through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, i.e. SNAP, better known as food stamps. Those charged included Michael Cahill, Muhammad Nawafli, Omar Agladash, Gamad Obad, Imad Arladeh, and Alash Davis, according to a press release. They face conspiracy charge, for allegedly stealing government funds and misusing USDA benefits. That's crazy. That's pretty much all I can say about that. And it seems like there's a lot of Indians involved. I don't know, these names sound Indian like. So to run it up to 65 million in food stamps, I need to know how that went down. Um, you know, so I'm not gonna get. I just wanted to bring it up because I just thought it was crazy. But 60 million. I need to do some more research on that and bring it back to you guys, because this is mind boggling. At the end of the day, how do you get away with it? Like how do you get to run it up like at 20 million? At 30 million? Do you say, man, this is crazy? I might want to get out. No, greed steps in. No, run it up to 40. No, 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 no. You're not done yet. 50, 60. And then you got the FBI, the government on top of your head. And they got a pretty much a 99.9% send your ass to jail ratio. So when you guys, maybe you wasn't from this country and you just thought you were going to be able to, get away with this. But one thing this country don't play is fraud on the government. A lot of it happens. A lot of people get away with it. But trust you me, if you get caught up in it, you're done. These people are done. 65 million. Do you know how many families that could have fed? Do you know how many just why? Just like for what? That's what I'm saying. I need to read up on it because I want to know how, why, when, and things of that nature so I can gauge it. But that was ridiculous. I don't know why they would do that. Like I said, 60 million, that could have went to so many needy families who probably were denied assistance because you got a shortfall of 63, 64, 65 million by these group of individuals who thought that it would be okay to rob the government of 60 million via food stamps. Insanity. All right, we're gonna keep it moving. I wanted to bring this up. Where's these guys at? All right, well, we can't bring them up. I wanted to talk about um, four brothers who are quadruplets who graduated together from Yale. Congratulations to Aaron, Nick, Zach, and Nigel Wade, the 22-year-old quadruplets from Liberty Township, Ohio, have made history by graduating from Yale University together. After being accepted to 59 universities, they chose Yale, where they each pursued their unique passions from computer science, psychology, to political science, engineering, and biology. Now ready to take on their next steps, the brothers are heading to Google, Goldman Sachs, and medical research, with Aaron returning to Yale for his final thesis. Man, that's got to be sweet. You got quadruplets, probably was crazy, shocking when it actually happened. I know the parents probably was like, what are we getting ready to do with quadruplets? And they pretty much, take the ball and go get it done, at Yale. That's big. I just wanted to kind of highlight them because it's just stories like that just go unnoticed, so to speak, and that shouldn't be the case. Stories like that needs to, be on the forefront. And if you got a platform like I do, then you want to be able to put forth those type of stories because it's motivational for others. You feel motivated, warm and fuzzy when you see stories like it, but you don't necessarily have a platform to bring forth, these types of stories. And I'm finding that out by doing this. A lot of the things that I talk about, I look up and be like, oh, ish. They're just not talking about it. And we talked about that about 2 weeks ago. So I know I must be, got my finger on the pulse, so to speak, because we're not really breaking stories, because I'm getting these stories from some of the great publications that I do my research, on and bring forth articles or, just different things from these different sources. So I'm just happy to be able to do that. These guys, this is great, man. I love it. Wish them nothing but success in their careers. And these are the guys right here, 4 of them, right? So yeah, that's big time. You know what I'm saying? They all look like they're getting ready to go out into the world and make it happen. So congratulations to those guys. All right, let's keep it moving. All right. I thought this was pretty unique. The state of Washington has signed a new law offering 120K in forgivable loans to first-time homebuyers from historically marginalized groups, including Black families, to address the lasting impacts of housing discrimination, such as redlining and racial covenants that block many from home ownership and building generational wealth. Let me just say this. I ain't never been to Washington before, Washington State, but the more and more that I be hearing stuff about Washington State, it's making me want to be in Washington State as a resident. I'm going to just be honest with you. They're forever doing things for everybody, especially those who may have been left behind, those who may be marginalized. You know, they're always on the cutting edge of just doing things the right way. And I just, I don't understand why other states don't do things like this. These states know, people of color was redlined, discriminated against. It's and wasn't able to obtain real estate to help them build generational wealth. They know this. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's had such a head start on us, and we're clawing back as best we can. But sometimes, everybody can't really claw back. So it takes, people that's not of color to have some empathy and give grace. And this is exactly what, to me, not just this instance, I've done another, not interview, but I talked about another article that Washington State had did something that was, impressive. So let's big up to Washington State, 120K in forgivable loans to first time home buyers. I don't know what the real estate is on the West Coast, so real estate might be pretty much expensive, but 120K is still 120K. Get you probably out of the area, bad areas, inner city areas that you once may have been living in, and get you into a home that you and your family can that you and your family deserve, a home that the kids can grow up in, and then family becomes back on the table. A lot of times they say the government did a lot of things to break up people of color, their families, take the men out of the homes, so on and so forth. But these are the type of things that can help to rebuild the middle class, number one, and to get families back to familying again, right? So, big up to Washington State. So much so, let's give them a round of applause, everybody. They deserve it. All right. So let's keep it moving. Definitely got to talk about this because I know this was on everybody's. This was the conversation, this past week. President Trump has commuted the federal life sentence for Larry Hoover, one of Chicago's most notorious gang leaders. Um, here's here's what we know about Mr. Hoover. President Trump has commuted the federal life sentence of Larry Hoover, one of Chicago's most notorious gang leaders, according to his attorneys. Hoover, however, 74, the founder of the Gangster Disciples, has spent nearly 3 decades in solitary confinement at ADX Florence in Colorado, widely considered one of the most secure prisons in the world. His case has remained controversial, as some claim he continues to control the gangs from prisons through intermediaries, while others argue he is unfairly targeted by law enforcement and that his rights are always violated. Um, you know, Larry Hoover is big. Rick Ross, Larry Hoover. He's almost a mythological figure because he went to jail early. And he's been fighting to get out. He has 200 years on the state level, so people are pretty much saying Trump is just clout chasing because he's he commuting from his federal sentence, which is great. He gets to get out of this crazy, whatever solitary confinement. And then he has to now go to a state facility. And then it's up to the governor if he'll, let him go. I think he's like 70 something years old now. So this is, this comes with the territory, right? The president can commute and do not whatever he wants to do, but he can pardon and he can commute wherever he wants to pardon and commute. But he can't pardon or commute a sentence on the state level, just on the federal level. So I know a lot of people was like, Larry Hoover's about to get out. Larry Hoover's about to get out. But they don't really understand the law. A lot of us don't, so they soon quickly found out it was just the first step of many steps to come. So we'll keep our eye on this. They said the president gave a pardon to NBA young boy, which he was already pretty much out of jail, but I guess he was on some form of probation, probably for years. So he wiped his slate clean. So a lot of people say it's politics, but, if it is politics, the families of these individuals, are happy because their loved ones are not just, sitting in prison, rotting away. Each president has an opportunity to commute and to pardon whoever he wants to. So you can't be mad at it. Excuse me, folks. So that's that. We'll keep our eye on it. We'll let you know if something else comes up. But as of right now, that's where it's at. It's commuted federally, but he has 200 years on the state level. So Fritzler the governor of Illinois would have to, pardon him as well. And most folks say that's not going to happen. So we'll see. We'll keep our eyes out. All right. So last but not least, let's talk about this whole Diddy case. And let's do a quick recap on it. You know, Diddy trial has been crazy. Of course, I've been paying close attention to it. You know, but last week, Deontay Nash, uh, got on the stand, and a person named Mia who you couldn't see her. They got her blocked out, the whole 9 yards, but she hit the stand, and then she got crossed. Deontay hit the stand and got crossed, and then she came on and hit the stand and then got crossed. Deontay seemed to fare well, but let's do a recap on both. So Nash started with Diddy. Deontay Nash said he began working with Diddy as an intern in 2008 before becoming a stylist for Bad Boy. He stopped working with Diddy in 2018. Diddy's abuse of Cassie. Nash says he witnessed Diddy assaulting Cassie multiple times. Recall Diddy assaulting Cassie in her apartment, causing her to have a gash in her head. Cassie also spoke about this incident in her testimony. Threats to release Cassie's sex tape. Nash says Diddy once threatened to release Cassie's sex tape. Says that when he learned Diddy was not on the tapes and it featured Cassie with different men, Nash said Cassie and Diddy broke up after Diddy was spotted publicly with Gina. Nash also says he later set Cassie up with Michael B. Jordan. Nash said one of his interviews with prosecutors before trial was cut short because he smoked marijuana beforehand. He says he spoke with Cassie day before testifying to congratulate her on the baby. He says they also spoke about what outfit she will wear to testify, but claims they didn't discuss testimony. He checked on Diddy. Nash checked on Diddy when Andre Harrell passed. He also reached out to Diddy in 2020 saying, I love you. Anything you need, I got you. And then Mia got on the stand, and she basically said it was chaotic and toxic. The highs were really high and the lows were really, really low. She said she would get in trouble if she left Diddy's home without his permission and wasn't allowed to lock doors. She says she helped run Revolt Films with Diddy and caused the experience overwhelmingly awesome despite toxic work condition. She also said Diddy essayed her. She says one night Diddy kissed her and then the SA progressed. She also said she got on top. He also got on top of her another night while she was in bed sleeping and put his private parts inside of her. She also recalls him making SA on a private plane. She says she attempted to warn him about others on the plane, but said it didn't stop him. Asked if she ever told him no, and Mia said she couldn't say no to Diddy, even over small things, fearing he would see it as disapproval and she would lose everything she worked for. She feared she never worked in the she feared she would never work in the industry again. So, Diddy, Diddy was just, something else to say the least. We'll keep you guys updated on him. There's so many people out there that's doing a much better job or could, or could just explain, the whole Diddy's saga a lot better than I can. I'm just kind of keeping my eye out and reporting accordingly. But there's other folks this all they do is they eat Diddy, they live Diddy, they sleep wake, and they do a good job. I like those guys out there, like the T Satels, um, the Flow Show, No Filter, and some others. So if you want to know more about the whole Diddy thing, reach out to those platforms, and they'll definitely get you updated and bring you up to speed on everything. But Diddy, you've been out here wilding, bro. I just, I kind of figured you might have been out here wilding because that's just what folks in the industry do. But man, you was wilding. Anyway, let's get into these mortgage hacks. We got 4 new mortgage and real estate hacks we want to run through with you guys real quick. The first one is try a leaseback strategy for investment properties. Sell your home to an investor and lease it back while you secure your next property. Perfect in competitive markets with high demand. That's number one. Number 2, look into zero-based budget renovations. Instead of blowing $100K on upgrades, focus on value adds that generate net rental ROI. Think kitchens, exterior paint, and laundry. House hack with an ADU, which means accessory dwelling unit. This is hack number 3. Many cities now offer grants or tax credit for building a backyard rental unit. Use it to house hack while building equity. That's a good one. And last but not least, use local utility rebates to lower property operating costs. Many states offer rebates for energy efficient appliance, windows, and HVAC systems. These can increase value and reduce long-term costs for your tenants or buyers. So these are the 4 mortgage and real estate hacks that we have for you guys today. And pretty much we would have our segment of a deep dive here, but like I said, my people, I gave them, a little R&R. We'll be back tomorrow with a deep dive on some company that could potentially benefit you in some type of way. So that's it for today's episode of the Mortgage Mayhem podcast. If you learned something new, drop a comment, repost, or tag us. This is a community, not just a conversation, right? So if you learn something new, drop a comment, repost, or tag someone. And be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and join the growing Mortgage Mayhem Unfiltered community. Until next time, keep your money smart, your strategy tight, and your questions loud. This is the Mortgage Mayhem signing off. This is G Money, your host. Hey, man, it was nice being back here today after a long weekend and chatted up with you guys. I love doing this. I can't wait for this channel to grow because we cover a lot of good stuff here. So once I get people, caught up and engaged in what it is that we doing, we could grow some more. We can, I'm always thinking about, trying to make the show better. So I'll definitely continue to do that. But until tomorrow, have a good day and stay out the way.